Hello learners, this is Pradeep Naik here, CEO of Fuel Media Solutions Private Limited. Welcome you all to another wonderful session of a wonderful industry, the event industry. Today we're going to talk about event controls and event evaluation. In a previous session, I spoke about event evaluation, and today I'm going to talk about event controls and different control methodology that we apply for the smooth functioning of the events and the organization. Allow me to share the presentation. So I discussed today we're going to talk about types of control and control methods in event management. So in this session, what you will learn is the meaning of control and the steps in the control process of the event, learn the elements, characteristics of control, and the usefulness of these controls in event planning. You'll also learn about different control methods that we apply for the event planning and the organization. What is control? Well, as the name says, it's a control. I'm sure everybody knows what is control. Okay, I don't have to re-emphasize it, but how is it applied in the event or the event planning scene? So controls are something that is applied across the organization from the senior management all the way till the lower management of the organization or through the processes of the company so that we achieve the goal of the organization or of the project. So controls are necessary across all the department. It is not only limited to event industry as such. Controls are there across all departments in different organizations too. So here in our nature, we have two complementary, I would say, two kind of control activities which complement each other. One is the information processing, which is essential for all kind of planning, which allows the continual comparison of an organization's stated goals and actual achievements. So when an organization is formed, there are some vision and mission statement or the objectives that is defined. This is what the organization is do. This is what the organization will strive to do. And keeping that as a main objective, controls and measures are applied or created, or processes, or we call it standard operating procedures, are created across the levels of the organization. So the ultimate objective of the organization is achieved. Second is the reciprocal communication or feedback. That means from each and every department or from each and every management, the reciprocative information that we get or the evaluated information that we get to achieve the main objective of the organization will define the further controls or the deviation or the modification of the controls. Now, there are different steps in the control process. The first one is establishing the standard of performance, or we also call as standard operating procedures in different organizations. Measurement of performance. Now, the SOP that you apply, you will have to also have something to gauge or measure that. That's called measurement of that performance. The third one is identifying deviation. So once we lay down a standard operating procedure or a standard of performance, we'll also have to identify the deviations at times, because it will happen. It's common to human nature and the process that we do, and it's open to market. It happens everywhere. So there will be slight deviations or there could be more deviations. So, but it is very important to identify those deviations and then correct those deviations. So these are the main steps in the control process. Now, let us talk about the types of control. One is operational control, the other one is organizational control. Operational controls apply to each and every department. Operational control could be at the production department, could be at the finance department, could be at the client servicing department, could be at the business development department, or could be any department. That's our operational controls. Then there is an organizational control, which is applied across all the departments to achieve the common objective of, or the sole objective of the organization, which is applied across. So these are the two different operational controls which will help us on a daily, day-to-day performance, like day-to-day office running, day-to-day event running. That is where operational controls will take place. Organizational controls is something which is like kind of laid off at the beginning of an organization or throughout the organization, something that is applied to achieve something bigger than what we have to achieve on a daily basis. Next, we look at is the types of control. So on the basis of application, whether it is an operational organization, there are different types of control. The first one is predictive control, also called as a feed forward control. So this helps us to predict and identify problems before they occur. So for example, we have the operations department, and they do apply some controls, like for example, we do events in the rainy season also, right? So everybody knows that between June and August, June, July, August, September is something that we look forward to, rainy season. So the ops team or the production team comes up with controls so that the production effort is minimized during that time, the damage is minimized, uh, we are doing more work or less work, like we have to gauge as to how much work can be done, and these controls will help for the smooth functioning of the event also. For example, I'll just, easy for you to understand the example is that during the rainy season, we know transportation from one location to another is difficult. We have to look at more of indoors. The cost of putting outdoor structures is going to be expensive. It might also rain, so you'll have to see the ground, workability, if the ground can be worked. So all these things are something that has been evaluated previously on a previous event, or it is learnings based on the climatic condition. And at the same time, since you're able to predict what can happen, so you put some controls there. And according to the controls is how the ops team will perform. Second is preventive control. Now, preventive controls, there are many. For example, one very easy example for you to understand this preventive control is insurance that we do apply for the in the event industry. That is a preventive control that we do, so that any mishaps happen is been taken care of. That's one of the preventive control, very important, that we do. That is very important as a part of the planning process of the event. Could be about the amount of people that we're gonna looking at the scale. So if it is an event for 3,000, 4,000 people, if it has to be handled by so many people, so we know that we would require 100 people, we need 10 security guards, we need 15 bouncers. So a preventive control procedure, so a standard operating procedure has been done, that any event that touches 100 people, these are the things that is required. An event that has 1,000 people, these are the things that is required. So these are preventive control, so to prevent and take care of that situation. Concurrent control, controlling measures deviations from activities while they're happening. So now what happens is that we do an event somewhere, like we are based out of Bangalore, I'm doing an event in Mumbai, or I'm doing an event in Port Blair, I'm doing an event in Singapore, or I'm doing an event in Hong Kong. So anywhere, anything can happen. So things which are not under our control. For example, the vendor who's supposed to deliver something comes late. Things are not in our hands. There could be traffic situation, there could be rain, anything. So at that point of time, what are we supposed to do? So if you have a standard operating procedure in terms of while the event is going on, any deviation that happens from this point, what are we supposed to do? That is called like a plan B or a plan C or something. So these are the controls that we can keep it ready and we can apply it when and then it is necessary. But it is the so all my examples are in context of event, because yes, we are doing talking about event. So though these things apply in every other industry also, but I'm giving you more relevance to the event industry since it is all about it. So every event will have some deviations. For example, the artist is coming on the stage, there could be certain delay because of some technical glitch happens. So what do we do? Plan B immediately. Okay, then we have the MC talking about something else. So all this, this can happen in any event. We do plan that it's a 1 hour event, minute 1, minute 2, minute 3, every minute is like scheduled. We know what is going to happen, but at times due to technical glitches, things can go here and there, but we should have a plan B ready. And what are those? So in case it deviates, so what do we do? That's called a concurrent control. Next is feedback control. Controls that help the event manager to take decisions during an event. Now what happens is that these controls are created based on the feedback or the evaluation that has been done on a previous event. If I'm doing a similar event, like I did a concert, for example, we're doing a concert in Palace Ground, and we also did a previous concert in Palace Ground 5 years or 2 years or 3 years or 3 months back, whenever. Based on the feedback that we received in my previous session, I mentioned that post-event evaluation is very, very important. The feedback from each and every performer or for the crew who has worked is very important. So based on that feedback that we get, we create feedback controls that is used for the future events. Next is historical controls. Historic controls are more on organizational control that involve analysis and of deviation from an event plan. So historic controls is something the main objective of the organization, saying that this is the standards that we have to meet, this is how the event has to be done, this is the ROI that we have to get from every event, and this is our level, this is the level of quality that we deliver, which defines the organization as such. So those are called as historic controls. Now, characteristics of control mechanism. What is the characteristics of a control? So one is it's meaningful and efficient. It's simple. So how are controls supposed to be? I can't say like I'm going to start a standard operating procedure in the finance department, in the ops department, and how is it supposed to be? We can't like pressurize everybody, each and every person who is working on something that they might not be able to understand. So how are they supposed to be? How are the controls supposed to be? They're supposed to be meaningful and efficient. That means that every control apply that procedure. For example, if I ask an ops guy to maintain a control procedure for the execution at the site, then if he has to do it, he should find some meaningful. It makes sense. If I carry a checklist, it makes sense. If I do a trial run before that, if that is a part of my control, it makes sense. So it has to be meaningful. It has to be efficient. Second, it has to be simple. The reason being, we can't waste a lot of time in training people the control mechanism. Second, timely and flexible. So I can't have something that we have to come to a particular location back. We have to do the filling in the form and all those things. We can't have things like that also. You have to make it very handy, very flexible, something you can upload it on the, like it should be as simple as something that we're using WhatsApp. So WhatsApp form kind of a thing where you fill in all the information and you will be able to check immediately, or anything of that matter that is quite efficient and which is timely available for you and it's quite flexible. Like if you've seen event managers at site, they are wearing this jackets and everything, something that you can carry immediately, like pull off, and then you start making a note of it, or on that sort of just can look up on your phone or with the notes that you have. Something that is relevant and something should suggest action. So if you see there is a control or deviation, it should automatically have something as an option that it says this, what we can do, or by looking at that or by observing at that, you immediately get to know what is going wrong and immediately plan for something that has to be taken care, that is action. Now control methods. Now there are different methods from which we like, they all have the same aim, which is highlight areas that they have strayed from the plan, enabling the management to take appropriate action. Now, controlling methods can vary in their complexity. For example, reports and meetings. How do we arrive at different control method reports? So, by having different reports of the event, pre and post event, we are able to arrive at certain controls that we have to apply for the event in the future. That I mentioned, it comes under concurrent control, or it could be during the time of the event that we apply controls for which reports pre-event and post-event, and also what we spoke about feedback control will also help here. So this is what the outcome of these reports and meetings is when we evaluate and we come up with some controls which we apply for the future events and so on. Second is delegation. So the most important thing of the entire structure as such is that you should know, like you as one person cannot do all the work. You should know the art of delegation, which is very difficult. So when you start off solo, like if you start off solo, like how I started 15 years back, it was very difficult for me to trust somebody with all the responsibility and give them the work that go ahead and you do that, because I didn't know the art of delegation. Today I run an organization and I have mastered, I wouldn't say mastered, but I at least have learned the art of delegation. So when we do the, when we master or when we learn the art of delegation, we should also create groups and empower them with the decision-making capabilities and also give them that responsibility. But at the same time, give them the controls that we put should be applied across. So that for me, like if there are 10 people reporting to me and there are another 10 people below them and 10 people so on, if I'm looking at a tree structure, I should know what is the last person of the bottom of the pyramid doing by just looking at the control and evaluation process. The same process which is applied. So as a CEO of the company, I should be knowing what is an event executive doing, what is the conceptualizer doing. I should know, looking at the controls, I should be able to evaluate at the event scene as to what exactly is happening. So that is one. So when we do the delegation, we should make control system efficient. That's when we'll be able to scale, or else it's very, very difficult. The break-even chart. So the break-even chart can be graphical, or it can be, you can do it yourself. But yeah, nowadays we have a lot of softwares and technology that has come, which we can customize it and use it. Break-even is something where we have an intersection of costs and revenue in the graph, and is commonly used to arrive at financial analysis. So every event has some profits and losses and everything. So as a organization, we arrive at something saying that every event should generate so much of profit and so much of cost should be within this bracket, because then we have something called as an opportunity cost, etc. So those things have to be also met, so that can be applied to break-even chart. The next control method is ratio analysis. So every organization, this is related to the previous one also, break-even chart. So ratio analysis is that we understand that in a 100% thing, we should know how much is going to be our profit ratio, how much is it going to be expense, then how much is the percentage for deviation. Like we plan, for example, an event is worth 1 lakh rupees, and we plan that our profit is going to be like 10,000 or 15,000 or 20,000 rupees, then we know the expense is going to be 70,000. Then the 10,000 could be an amount which is for miscellaneous, could be for unforeseen circumstances, or it could be for any deviations or plan B that we apply. So the ratio has to be clear in the mind. So what happens is that there are some companies, including a company, where we do a pre-event costing and a post-event costing. The pre-event costing is purely for approval, where they once the event is confirmed, the operations is supposed to submit me a pre-event costing when they mention that how much it's going to cost us to do the event, and I approve it based on the negotiation, etc., that they've done with the vendors, artists, or anybody for that matter. We look at the percentage of the, again, here what will happen is the organization as such on top has derived that from every event we have to earn so much percentage. So is that met? No. So how will we do? Is it a client who does 5 events in a month? So average out, can we achieve that? No. So we have to arrive at that ratio. We have to evaluate that, and we have to find out how to do that. So for example, if there is an organization called A, and they're giving an event on week 1, that is January 1st week, which is worth 1 lakh. Week 2, week 3, week 4. There are 4 events that we get from them. Each event is worth 1 lakh rupees, but different types of event. So the profit in first event might be 20, next 24, 30, 18, 12. So as an organization, I have derived that average should be 20%. So if it is averaging out with the 4 events to 20% that month, it's absolutely okay. But if it is not, then we have to see where we can reduce or where we have to increase. So that is how we do the ratio analysis. Second is the quality measurement. Now, this is the most important thing than the profit and everything, I would say. Yeah, profit is equally important, or the ratio analysis is equally important, but quality measurement is something that your company will be defined for. So there are set standards that a company would follow, that we will do this quality of work, this is how we do, this is the kind of quality of fabric that we use, this is the quality of flex that we use, this is the kind of work that we do, this is the kind of transportation that we do, a post-event cleanup and everything. There are a lot of things, you know, the personal touch to the event that you give, the level of concept and design that you give. So the quality will be throughout the process, actually, I would say. The quality of servicing that you're doing for the client, the quality of production that you're executing, all that matters. And of course, the quality, the outcome of the event. So that is also equally measured, and for that also you have to put some controls, is where your production department, operations, do check on all the materials that come, all the vendors that work with us, the quality that they have to constantly check that. This comes under the concurrent control also. Now next is the project management system. Now there are projects which are huge, like large in scale, mega shows, or events that are like for 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. So there are different softwares, like not softwares, I would say. Yeah, there are softwares, and there are methods like Gantt chart and everything, where we create like if it is for 365 days, I created a Gantt chart with 365 days with every day writing. It's like an evaluation process also to evaluate what we're doing, like at different checkpoints. Like January, we were supposed to evaluate this to February, March, April, and so on. But at the same time, I put different controls there just to check. Like every 3 months, there is a control to check on what are the parameters that we are supposed to achieve. Has that been achieved or not? So again, so project management, the PMS, nowadays it's becoming like really cool thing to work with, easy. And the other things that we are also doing is checklists. So when the production team goes to the site, when they start working for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, there is a checklist they have to follow. The entire setup can be derived into a checklist. They have to, so each department could be a housekeeping department, could be the backstage department, could be the audience management department, could be the branding department, could be the audience control or the security department, or anybody. There is everybody will have their own checklist, and the main ops guy or the main event manager will have his own checklist with everybody. So he has to constantly keep checking as to who is doing what. And so these checklists are very, very important, because time and again, and you, if possible, time it also, saying that this is supposed to be like, if it's a 3-day production, you know that day 1 this much should be completed, day 2 this much, day 3 so on. So, and at any given point of time, you will be able to quickly pull up and see, okay, this is not on time, so you can immediately take some action. So if you remember, if I just quickly just go back here, last one says should suggest some action. So when we're doing the PMS, we'll be able to derive that, oh, this is not going as per what we planned, so we have to do something. And that is when the checklist will come into place. Controlling of finances. So at times what happens is that events don't go the way we planned, probably because of the climate, weather and everything. But at the same time, as I told, how I work is that when we do at 100 rupee thing, we define the ratio, we define saying that this much is going to be profit this much, and we keep a buffer so that it comes in handy as a plan B or something, or it can also be used as something at times when we deviate from the plan due to whatever reasons. It could be due to climatic reasons, weather or anything, or it could be due to finance or the artist cost going up, last minute flight booking, the prices are all double, triple, and all those things. So it is very, very important. But at the same time, your finance department also should apply some controls in terms of dispersing payments to the people who are working in the events, how they do it, and how they like, excuse me, so if there is a person who's working for event and he needs a lot of petty cash to be given to manpower, etc. So if they put some controls there so that it can be measured, there could be money given for petrol, money given for food expenses, etc., money given for labor that is hired during the event. So it can all be controlled through different softwares that we use today. At the same time, there has to be some control mechanisms put by the accounts department so that it will be easily measured. It will be easy for you to derive a ratio analysis. Control systems. This is again the main purpose of the control system across different departments is to meet the objective of the organization. So with this, we come to the end of our topic, that is control and control methods in event management. So I hope, I know this is more like a theory for you. You'll be able to understand this better as and when you start working in the event industry. Controls are very, very necessary. I don't know if every organization today applies to it. Back of their mind, I'm sure they would want to. But evaluation is something which is very, very important. Control is something that it is equally important as evaluation, but as and when you cannot apply across all departments all of a sudden. Start applying, I would say, started from the finance and the ops. These are very crucial departments in the organization. Observe very carefully, create your own template. There are many softwares available in the market today. Learn how the Gantt chart is done for mega shows or big projects, which is scheduled over a period of 4, 6 months or 1 year, 2 years, so on. Learn how to use it, what is the importance of it further. I hope in further sessions you might have some detailed discussions or a detailed explanation as to how this works. But yes, so the main objective of this controls is to achieve the ultimate objective of the organization, make your working more easier. And when we scale as an organization, everybody is accountable and everybody achieves the goal of the organization and individual goal. For the betterment of their future. You might join as an event executive, but I'm sure 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 10 years down the line, you might look at being a key accounts manager or being in a senior position. So these controls will learn to evaluate your own work and also be able to give something to the organization in terms of for them to evaluate your work and help in growth of that individual in the organization. With this, we come to an end of this session. Thank you all for listening and have a good day.